Here's something a lot of people feel, but never say out loud. You save for a few months, you watch the number in your account slowly climb, and then something happens. A car repair, a medical bill, a wedding you forgot was coming up. And half of it is just gone. And somewhere in the back of your mind, a quiet thought shows up. What's even the point? If you felt that, you're not broken and you're not bad with money. You're running into a structural problem that almost nobody explains clearly. Saving money, the way most people do it, is set up to feel useless. Not because saving is a bad idea, because the method most people use was never actually built to work. So today, I want to show you why traditional saving feels like running on a treadmill, and what actually replaces that feeling with real, visible progress. My name's Jordan. If you've ever felt like your savings account is just a waiting room for the next emergency, this one's for you. All right, let's start with why saving money feels so unsatisfying for so many people. Here's the core issue. Most people have exactly one savings account. One pile of money for absolutely everything. Emergencies, vacations, gifts, a new laptop someday, a security cushion, literally everything that isn't a bill. And when everything lives in one undifferentiated pile, here's what happens psychologically. Every time you spend from it, it feels like a failure, even if the spending was completely reasonable, even if it was for something you'd been planning for months. Think about it like this. Imagine you're filling up a single bucket labeled goals, and every time water gets used for anything, even something you wanted, like watering a plant you actually care about, it feels like the bucket is failing at its job. Because the bucket was never told what its job actually was. It was just told to be full. That's what a single savings account does to your brain. It never gets to feel like progress, because it's never allowed to actually finish anything. It just refills and drains, forever, with no sense of completion ever attached to any of it.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. Research on motivation and goal setting consistently shows something counterintuitive. People are far more motivated by visible progress toward a specific named goal than by an abstract, growing number with no defined purpose. A specific goal your brain can picture finishing. A vague pile of money can't be finished because it was never actually a goal in the first place. It's just a holding cell. Let's put real numbers on it. Say you're saving $500 a month into one account. After 6 months, you've got $3,000. Feels decent. Then your car needs new brakes and a battery. $900 total. Now you're at $2,100, and it feels like you just lost momentum, even though you didn't do anything wrong. You just paid for a completely normal expense using the only pile of money you had. Compare that to the same $500 a month split intentionally. $200 into a genuine emergency fund. $150 into a car maintenance fund. Because you know cars need maintenance, it's not actually an emergency, it's a predictable expense you're prepaying for. $100 into a fun money or vacation fund. $50 into a gift fund for birthdays and holidays that happen every single year, whether you plan for them or not.
Now, when the $900 car expense hits, it comes out of the car maintenance fund specifically, which was built for exactly this. Your emergency fund never even notices it happened. Nothing feels like a failure because the system already knew this expense was coming. It wasn't an emergency. It was scheduled spending you just hadn't given a name yet. This is the actual difference between saving that feels useless and saving that feels like progress. It's not the amount, it's the structure. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Jordan, but isn't this just budgeting with extra steps? Not exactly, because here's the piece that actually matters, and it's psychological, not just organizational. When money has a name, spending it doesn't feel like loss. It feels like the plan working. Paying $900 out of a fund labeled car maintenance feels completely different than paying $900 out of a fund labeled savings, even though it's the exact same $900 leaving your account. The label changes the emotional experience of the exact same transaction. Here's an analogy that makes this click.
Imagine two employees at the same company, both given a $10,000 budget. Employee A is told, here's $10,000, spend it wisely. Employee B is told, here's $3,000 for software, $4,000 for hiring a contractor, $2,000 for marketing, and $1,000 for miscellaneous. Both have the exact same total, but employee B feels in control because every dollar has a job. Employee A feels anxious every time they spend anything because there's no way to know if this particular purchase was the right use of the pile. Your personal finances work exactly the same way. A single, undifferentiated savings account is employee A's situation. Multiple named, purposeful accounts is employee B's situation. Same total money, completely different relationship with spending it. Now, here's the part that actually gets people unstuck, because knowing the theory isn't enough. You need the actual mechanics. Most banks now let you open multiple free savings accounts or create sub-accounts within one account specifically for this purpose. Here's a simple starting structure. First, a true emergency fund. Job loss, medical emergency, unexpected major expense. And this one you genuinely don't touch for anything else. Second, a predictable expenses fund, covering things you know are coming, even if you don't know exactly when. Car repairs, home maintenance, replacing a phone or laptop eventually. Third, a goals fund, for things you're actively working toward. A vacation, a down payment, a big purchase you're excited about. And fourth, if you want it, a small, guilt-free spending fund, so you're not constantly negotiating with yourself over every small purchase. The specific split matters less than the existence of the split. Even something simple, 50% emergency, 30% predictable expenses, 20% goals, beats one undifferentiated pile by a significant margin, purely because of what it does to how spending from it feels. Let's put one more number on it, because this is where it becomes real. Say you do this consistently for 2 years, saving that same $500 a month. At the end of 2 years, in the old single account system, you've probably watched that account rise and fall repeatedly, ending up somewhere unpredictable, depending on what emergencies happen to hit. In the structured system, you can look at 4 specific numbers and know exactly what each one represents and what it's for. You haven't necessarily saved more money in total, but you can actually see what you have, and every dollar has already answered the question, what happens if I need to spend this? That certainty is what removes the feeling of uselessness. It's not that the structured system prevents you from ever having a car repair or a big expense. It's that the system already planned for it, so the expense doesn't feel like it's undoing your progress. It feels like your money doing exactly what it was designed to do. Now, one more thing that matters here, and it's easy to miss. Give your accounts specific names, not generic labels. Car fund works better than savings too. Bali trip 2027 works better than vacation. The more specific and vivid the name, the more your brain treats it as a real goal instead of an abstract pile. And the research on this is surprisingly consistent. Specific, named goals get funded more reliably than vague ones, almost automatically, without requiring more willpower at all. So here's your starting point. Take whatever you're currently saving each month, and instead of adding it to one account, split it across 3 or 4 named, purpose-built accounts. Emergency, predictable expenses, goals, and if you want it, guilt-free spending. Give each one a real name, not a generic label, and let each account do exactly one job, instead of asking one account to silently do all 4. Because saving money was never supposed to feel useless. It felt useless because the structure never gave it a chance to feel like anything else. Once every dollar has a name and a job, spending it doesn't undo your progress anymore. It becomes the progress. If this changed how you think about your own savings account, hit subscribe. And tell me in the comments, how many separate savings goals do you actually have right now? And does that number surprise you?